let's look at the week ahead, shall we? Monday was Mars trine Neptune, maybe the weirdest all hands stand-up meeting you've ever had. Someone was probably on one. This is the last Mars and Scorpio trine Neptune and Pisces of our lifetime. And boy, will I miss it. I really enjoyed that Mars trine Neptune. Today, if you're watching this in the middle of the night when it comes out, most of Monday was just the moon squaring Jupiter, which goes exact first thing on Tuesday. And also, first thing on Tuesday, the moon opposes Venus. And I talked about that last week. It's the benefics in great condition, but in a bit of conflict. So it can be a pretty loud combination of benefics, which sounds great. But the square sometimes asks you to make a shitty choice. And I talked about this last week, if you want more on the Venus-Jupiter square. But the moon is activator of the zodiac, so the moon is coming through and activating that Monday night, like right now, and Tuesday. I don't know what this hairdo is. I keep trying to capture its good side. It was just like, while I was getting ready, I have the dude clip in. It's my favorite hairdo. I'm wearing my favorite hairdo. Jupiter is squaring Venus. I look like, my favorite hairdo is, I like to look like I just came in from recess and needed to clip my hair back because I'm sweaty. So I'm wearing my ritual clown makeup because Mars is entering Sagittarius. Mars is my 9th house ruler. Imagine your overall worldview being mostly colored by violence and distrust. Oh my God. Okay. I don't even know what this is. All right, that was interesting. So Mars enters Sagittarius. This is going to be much more all over the place. So we had Mars trining Jupiter last week, and as I mentioned, that was kind of a bit of foreshadowing in a calmer, more focused, more like everything directed at the right thing way, whereas now it's Jupiter is Mars's boss, but Jupiter can't see Mars because the sign of Cancer isn't configured by a Platonic aspect to Sagittarius. And there's kind of a weird switcheroo happening on this fine Tuesday morning. Mars moves into Sagittarius, and then the moon moves into Taurus, so they switch, which is happening again when Uranus moves into Taurus, Uranus moves back into Taurus at the end of this week. I'm looking at my paper, but it's on the screen. I mean, I was calling it a switcheroo, but it isn't because the moon was in Aries. So this Mercury retrograde, I'm blaming stuff on Mercury retrograde. I am. Okay, so there's a difference between like blaming your shortcomings on the quality of the time, or like, there's a difference between blaming a transit and acknowledging that a time in reality is a time about something different than what you might naturally feel inclined to do. Like Mercury retrograde isn't really a time for going hard and being really precise and churning out tons of super amazing, accurate workload. It's a time, of listening. And I mean, this word I'm about to use is not baked in to the traditional signification of Mercury retrograde at all. but I'm going to say that it's a time of more compassion, greater compassion, because you can just like, it's so much easier for me, instead of for me to be like, what's their problem? I'm just like, well, I mean, I'm kind of like this my whole life because I have natal Mercury retrograde, but and it's my 7th ruler, so it really, I mean, it's me plenty, but it really shows up in other people a ton, especially customer service and like tech support people. Tech support people. So often. I digress. Mercury retrograde. I was saying that, so I blamed something on Mercury retrograde, and then I was saying that I'm not, I think there's more nuance than that, than just blaming it. Because what I do, what I've come to acknowledge, is that this isn't a time to get it right. It's a time to make mistakes. I think I've said this before, where when I first went to art school, I did 2 years out of community college, and that was the best art. I almost like didn't have to do my whole, like what I did next, which was like 4 years of art school after that. So I like have a PhD in art, basically. Anyway, first 2 years at community college, my second semester, I got to start taking life drawing, which is where you draw the naked people. And it was amazing. I mean, it's like, I'm an artist, so I want to draw the human form. I felt so fancy and like romantic. But I'm getting off track. Something the teacher said when he was walking around on the first day, the first like set of 5-minute gestures where I'm like, I don't know. I was like lost in like lines and trying to figure it out. It's kind of like this upcoming Mercury retrograde where you're like lost in all the elements. You're trying to like do a thing and look at a thing and appreciate a whole vibe and trust God and live your life. That's what's coming imminently. Anyway, he said that this is a place to make mistakes. And that was one of maybe the most impactful thing that any teacher has ever said. The other thing, I don't need to get into this. Well, Mars is entering Sagittarius, so okay, maybe I will. The other thing that was impactful, this is completely off topic. The other thing that was impactful was I mentioned to one of my like English, like lit professors at the fancy private art school I went to after the community college. And I mentioned to her that I had a better time, and I don't know, I hope she wasn't offended. She was great. I guess I don't remember the context of this conversation, but I guess I felt comfortable enough with her to tell her this, which like I have a long, rich history of feeling comfortable enough with people to tell them stuff that I shouldn't tell them. But I mentioned to her that like I had such a better time at community college, and this is like my first year at this private art school. And I lost my train of thought. So I said I had a much better time, and I had like such a more impactful relationship with my teachers. Excuse me. Or like the teachers were better or something, or they like seemed more into it, and thus gave me like better advice, instruction, wisdom, skills, etc. I don't know how I worded this, but I was just like, the teachers were better. I had almost had a bit, it was like kind of like realizing some shit. As I was talking to her, I was like, I almost think I had a better time. And she was like, and so this is why I'm telling you this story, this is the other important thing that a teacher said to me, but it kind of relates to Mars and Sagittarius a little bit, in that it's like kind of like anti-higher education in a way. She said, she was like, oh, and it was like she was like waiting to tell me this her whole life. All of time converged upon this moment where this woman told me this. She was like, the teachers at community college are there because they like teaching. I think she said they love to teach. And the teachers are here at, teachers teach at university to be recognized in their field. So there's that. Okay, Tuesday morning is a doozy. It's Mars slamming into Uranus. Right before Uranus goes back into Taurus. So Mars and Uranus high-five each other. And what the hell is this going to be about? I think like it's giving a little Neuralink vibes. It's giving holy war. It's giving a preview of Mars-Uranus oppositions for years to come. Mars in a fire sign is always a bit much. I'm on it. This stool is squeaky. I was trying to stand, but I'm not feeling it. This is like this. Okay, just Mars and Sagittarius by itself is like chasing like whatever shiny dangly thing. I almost think of like this isn't. You know, Mars and Leo would be like cat Mars, but this is like cat Mars, like chasing everything. It's that like Will Ferrell being a cat on Saturday Night Live. He does it better than me. I am laughing. It looks like I'm laughing at myself, which I am very well known for laughing at my own jokes, but just then I was genuinely laughing at the Will Ferrell cat thing because I really like it. So this is like a taste of things to come. Anyway, Mars and Sagittarius by itself is like doing the cat thing, chasing, getting all the stuff, like chasing 5 laser pointers at once. You know, like the cat, you first get the laser pointer and you have the cat chase it. And I've seen cats where you just do that and they keep chasing it and then they pant. It's really bad. I've seen more than one cat do that. So this is like what that is. And Uranus and Gemini is also kind of like all the things, all the everything's really interesting. I want to know about everything. Tell me about everything. Tell me about everyone. Tell me everything about everyone. So that's the vibe. That's first thing Tuesday morning. And the moon in Taurus squares Pluto in Aquarius. That old chestnut where you're trying to get the best for your body and the utopian infrastructure gets in the way. Anyway, back to that. Mars and Sagittarius. Opposite. Just starting out Mars and Sagittarius with a bang. Opposite Uranus in I'm just realizing some stuff about that transit that make me they give me pause. Gives me pause. Okay, so all this stuff happens first thing on Tuesday. The moon is full of light. There's so much energy going around. This Mars-Uranus opposition has so much energy. And at least the energy reactor. You know, Uranus and Taurus kind of makes me think of the San Onofre power station in, like, by San Diego. Anyway, the reactor, this full moon is off axis from, Uranus isn't even in Taurus again yet, but, okay, moving on. So Tuesday, all that stuff happens in the morning. And then, I don't know. so cringe. I'm just like, I'm on year 4 making just like cringe videos that stress you out. It would be good if I could find a way to like, not change into the best showman, although like I'd like to do that, but instead like somehow leverage the fact that like the stuff I naturally do. Okay, so Tuesday, after all that stuff happens with plenty of energy, then we're just like living with it for the rest of the day. And that's until the exact full moon. So Tuesday night will be like a proper full moon. That'll be the full moon in Taurus. And it goes exact at 5:19 a.m. Pacific time on Wednesday. So the last dark moon in Taurus was on April 27th, 2025. That was an interesting time, wasn't it? That was sort of like one little era of a few weeks passing into a whole new thing. So what has come to fruition in the Taurus area of your life since then? And it might be, I guess, like different than what you thought, because everything about now is different than what any of us thought back at the end of April 2025. The next dark moon in Taurus, so this will be like a culmination point, and then you'll start to like reset for another, like all of this will have run its course for like a new layer of cycle. It's like how when you breathe in and you breathe out, it's not like breathing is over. You're going to breathe in again. It's just going to be like you'll be in a slightly different set of coordinates, maybe. So this dark moon is ruled by Venus in Libra, or sorry, it's a full moon. It's ruled by Venus in Libra, and Venus is at the point of the last dark moon in Libra. Yeah, it was at 28 degrees. So Venus is now at 28 degrees of Libra. So that's weird. There's like an echo of the last dark moon, and there's something about this full moon, as with any Taurus moon, but especially, I think, with Jupiter in Cancer, the moon is ruling Jupiter. You're really going to see that phrase, the fruits of your labor. And that's what, like, I don't remember who I heard say this or talk about it, that like Venus stuff is like enjoying things that other people worked to make. So like if you have like a bowl of strawberries, somebody picked all those strawberries. That's like a really basic example. And hang on, I'm having a technical, something very reciprocal here with Venus and Libra, and that like being the exact point of the dark moon that just happened. There's very like give and take. And this part of Taurus has a lot to do with how fertility or life, or I can't think of the specific word right now, but this place in Taurus is about momentum. And that's what like the season in the northern hemisphere that Taurus corresponds to, that's like, it's like the middle of the season, the middle of everything. It's not the beginning or the end, it's the middle. So the momentum that's needed to like keep the abundance going, because abundance can come in spikes, but the best way is for it to just be steady. And this also has like a sense of like you get out of it what you had put into it. So what did you put into it? Or like you have to like tend your fields. Have you been doing that? Or have you not? There's also a sense with Venus, it ruled by Venus at the end of Libra, of enjoying something but not overdoing it. Even maybe like enjoying a lot, there's a sense of excess at the end of Libra. So maybe like managing or like balancing the excess. There are many plates spinning, like especially looking at the Mars opposite Uranus situation. That's gonna, they came out of nowhere. So that's the full moon at the beginning of Wednesday, and then the end of Wednesday ends with a nice moon in Taurus sextile Jupiter in Cancer. So exalted moon ruling and making the Venus aspect with exalted Jupiter. I love it. I love Wednesday, much less whatever Tuesday hath wrought. Wednesday looks better. And hopefully Tuesday, I was going to say rings. What is the present tense of wrought? I don't know. Right now I don't know. It doesn't mean I've never encountered it. I have a whole, okay, this is my my nervous tick, my thing I need to heal. I'm moving on. So hopefully Tuesday brought you good, energetic, vigorous surprises. And Wednesday you got to enjoy stuff. Of course, the moon right after sextiling Jupiter, sextile Saturn. So there's like a, whatever you can do to make things real, like bring them into the world. It's so hard, especially for a person like me. I'm just all ideas and imagination. It's hard for me to bring things into the world, but use that Saturn aspect. Be asleep or sleep, but Tuesday evening, Tuesday during the day, enjoy yourself with the moon sextile Jupiter, and the moon sextile Saturn make something real. So Thursday is a lot. Venus enters Scorpio at night. No, not at night. In the afternoon. So much happens before Venus enters Scorpio. That's like the main course of Thursday, but so much else happens. Where do I even begin? The moon sextiles Neptune first thing in the morning, so you won't want to get up. And then Mars sextiles Pluto. So you'll feel this on Wednesday too. So it's like you have tons of energy to get something done. That is like a deep well of energy. You are the power station in this case. With this particular Mars sextile Pluto, so it's like two kind of savage, two of the most savage planets making a cute little aspect together. So if you need to do something savage, this would be the time. Just make sure it's a good thing. Love everyone and tell the truth. With this in particular, Mars and Sagittarius, it's not so much the Sagittarius part, but it's Mars and then Pluto in Aquarius. I think of something about like cooperating with law enforcement. Okay, so it turns out you're not going to have a hard time getting up in the morning on Thursday because the moon moves into Gemini at 7:20 a.m. and then 5 minutes later it slams into Uranus because Uranus is about to move back into Taurus. So Uranus is right on the border between between Gemini and Taurus. And so Thursday is much less chill than Tuesday. Something I just found out, and I think this might have been last week's tech news, is that like immigration law enforcement in the United States, they're like in some cities, they're trying out a thing where they scan your face to make sure that you're properly documented person. So, and you can't refuse. You just have to get your face scanned. So, something around that with the Mars sextile Pluto is kind of interesting. So, Moon is the activator of the zodiac. Mars just opposed Uranus. The Moon here is now conjoining Uranus and trining Pluto. So activating the Mars-Pluto sextile. And of course, since Mars and Pluto are like touching, they're connecting, the Moon also opposes Mars, which seems like aggravating. So on Tuesday, everything like, technically on Tuesday, if you're on the west coast of North America, the Moon sextiles Saturn in the wee hours, like in the middle of the night. That's basically Wednesday. And then the Moon sextiles Neptune. Mars sextiles Pluto. The Moon moves into Gemini. The Moon conjoins Uranus. I forgot my words. Mercury and water signs are mute. The Moon trines Pluto, and the Moon opposes Mars, all before breakfast on Thursday. So Tuesday is a lot, and Thursday is a lot more. Most of the day on Thursday, like the rest of the day on Thursday, is the Moon opposing Mercury in Sagittarius. So Thursday feels like a bunch of chatty Cathys, or I can't think of anything good right now. Okay, so Venus moves into Scorpio. Venus is in detriment in Scorpio. And Venus will be in Scorpio until November 30th. Venus is now ruled by Mars. Things are like so much more entangled. They're getting more entangled. Before Mars was in domicile, Venus was in domicile. They were doing their own thing. They were happy. They were living their best life. Now there's like an entanglement. I think that's a part of Venus in detriment, is Venus is entangled with this force that is like her opposite, which that's also sexy. So, and Venus in Scorpio can definitely be that. It's just like entanglements make things complicated. And again, thinking about, I think I mentioned that, like, when I mentioned at the beginning about like, oh, can you imagine, like, just imagine that same thing with Venus. Like, imagine your love life is characterized by deep mistrust and violence. That's why Venus is in detriment in Scorpio. Still can't get comfortable in my shooting space, even though I chose this. Wow. Okay. This is just normal me. I don't do anything. I don't drink alcohol. I do nothing. And like, okay. So Thursday is a lot. Venus moves into Scorpio. There's like, I mean, I feel like I explained it. The gist already is like everything is more entangled. Everything, like your pleasure is like subject. Excuse me while I like, this sweater is like also not comfortable. I gotta do something about this. Now I actually can do something about this. I just don't know what to do. I should put a big couch here instead of table. Moving on. Okay, that's Thursday. I don't need to do like a whole sermon on Venus and Scorpio. I'm not going to, as much as I would love to, because that does interest me, but I'm not going to. Just like what, Halloween's over, but inspect your attraction to like monsters or like, okay, the Nosferatu movie, maybe that, look at that. Okay. Friday. First thing in the morning, you'll wake up and Uranus will be in Taurus again. So something different. It's something different, but back to the way it used to be. Back to 2017/18 through the beginning of July of this year. What does all that signify? Where were we? Friday. Uranus moves into Taurus. Venus. So Friday is the moon squaring Saturn. The moon in Gemini wanting to socialize, Saturn in Pisces needing to do something solitary. And that's mostly the gist of Friday, but in the evening, Venus squares Pluto. So Venus, if Venus-Pluto stuff is in your life, Venus is activated for you this year. Venus conjoined Pluto on December 7th, 2024. And Venus squared Pluto the last time, June 9th, 2025. And Venus opposed Pluto on July 12th. So those are some like important plot points in the Venus-Pluto story, or just in the Venus story in general. Friday night seems kind of rough or like somber. It doesn't have to be rough. It could be just like chill, like really chill and serious. So the moon doesn't make its exact square with Saturn until almost midnight between Friday and Saturday, and then the moon completes a square with Neptune in Pisces around 6:30 a.m. on Saturday. And then Saturday morning, first thing, the moon moves into Cancer. And then trines Venus. So that's better. I'll take that. So, and Mercury's stationing retrograde. So all week long, you just add Mercury's very stationing, very slowing down, very glitchy, very like wanting to present you with side quests that are going to go nowhere. They're going to get you lost. Or like, here's something to fix. You're not going to fix it. You're going to make it worse. But on Saturday seems nice, like the first part of Saturday. And then the second part of Saturday is just the moon's trining the sun. It's whatever. So Saturday, take a breath and don't plan anything important. If you do have something important planned, things might go weird and don't freak out. If you do have important plans, just don't worry about it. If something goes not how you planned. Because have you ever noticed that like sometimes things don't go how you planned them? I don't know which way I'm supposed to face. I'm used to facing the other way. I almost feel like I'm like doing like b-boy stance with my calendar. Have you ever noticed that things don't go as planned and that's uncomfortable and you're like, oh no, but everything works out in the end because they're actually, there's the way you planned it, which is the way it must go. And some of us are better at that than others, making sure that it goes that way. But there's your plan. You've decided it's the best plan. There are 40 jillion other ways it could go that are also perfectly suitable. They're just not what you envisioned. And that's what this week is about. That's what Mercury retrograde is about. So Mercury stations retrograde on Sunday. And that's it. God gives you nothing else to ponder on Sunday except the moon applying to a conjunction with Jupiter for most of the day. Or the evening if you're on the East Coast in North America. That sounds wonderful. Remember, they're trying to replace God.